Good evening to our viewers from across the Atlantic. My name is Don Arleth, and you're watching Flash News, where we bring you local events from Poland and around the world. It's back to school time in Poland, and it will be a lot different than it was a year ago, after the lockdowns that went into effect due to the coronavirus last March. Students, parents, and teachers will all have a new set of rules to get used to.
The students missed this sound more than usual.
I missed this a lot.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, they have not been at school for almost 6 months. However, the school they return to is a bit different than the one they remember. Obligatory disinfection of hands, wearing masks on breaks.
We don't have to wear them in classrooms because sitting 8 hours in a classroom is hard. But in the corridors, it seems so normal.
Nowadays, in schools, apart from learning, the most important thing is to apply to sanitary restrictions. Lessons are planned so that students do not change classrooms as much as possible.
We try to make sure that it is the teacher who comes, so that the youth can spend as much time as possible with each other in one classroom.
At the same time, the Safe Way to School campaign was launched all over Poland. This is an intensified control of technical condition of buses and the sobriety of drivers. The inspectors will not be lenient, and this was the case in previous years. The inspectors will also remind that, as in the case of public transport, wearing masks in the school bus is also mandatory.
The daily record of people recovering from COVID-19 has been broken. 835 more patients in Poland have recovered from the illness, and at the same time there are only 595 new cases. Additionally, there are new quarantine rules and a new list of countries with bans on flights from Poland.
The Ministry of Health is adapting the quarantine rules to current World Health Organization standards. For those who do not show clinical signs of COVID-19, the isolation time will be shorter. Not 14, but only 10 days. The patient will not have to be screened for the virus. After 10 days, when we have no symptoms, when we are asymptomatic patients, the possibility of an infection is very low. However, the virus is still dangerous. Despite the shortened quarantine time, we still have to respect the sanitary regime. We know much more than at the beginning, although the virus will still keep on surprising us. What we hoped for, that it would be a seasonal virus, unfortunately did not work. Due to the epidemic, there are restrictions on international flights. Until mid-September, we will not fly to 44 countries, including Spain, Malta, the United States. For those returning from Spain, LOT Polish Airlines will organize 7 charter flights by Sunday.
There is clear evidence that Alexei Navalny, a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin, was poisoned with a nerve agent, according to the German government. Apparently, this same nerve agent used to kill former Russian spy Sergei Skripal in London. Berlin is demanding an immediate explanation from Moscow.
The leader of the Russian opposition is in a coma since the 20th of August, when he lost consciousness on the plane from Tomsk to Moscow. Initially, he was treated in the hospital in Omsk. His associates immediately pointed out that there was an attempt to poison Navalny.
The two main questions are who and how. So the who is obvious. Navalny is the most prominent, effective, and dangerous political opponent of the Putin regime. And they've hated him for a long time. And the how, poisoning has been a favored method of Soviet and later Russian security services going back decades.
After 2 days in the Russian hospital, Navalny was transported to a clinic in Berlin. This is what the family and his associates demanded, but the doctors from Omsk did not agree to it. He underwent detailed medical examinations in Germany.
Alexei Navalny was the victim of an attack with a chemical nerve agent of the Novichok group. This poison could be identified unequivocally in tests, so it's clear that Alexei Navalny is the victim of a crime. He was supposed to be silenced, and I, together with the entire German government, condemn this in the strongest possible terms.
From the very beginning, Russia denied reports that it could have been an attempt to murder the oppositionist.
We now know that it was an attack with a chemical nerve agent. This makes it all the more urgent than those responsible in Russia to be identified and held accountable. We condemn this attack in the strongest terms.
Alexei Navalny is still unconscious, and the doctors describe his condition as severe. Novichok is a substance that paralyzes the nervous system. The poison was used in 2018 in Great Britain against a former Russian agent, Sergei Skripal, and his daughter.
The United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom are joining the European Union and preparing sanctions against top-ranking officials of the Belarusian government. Meanwhile, Alexander Lukashenko's regime is doubling down and continuing to place pressure on demonstrators.
Students protest against the beating of peacefully demonstrating people, but they themselves become victims of violence from Oman, which is sent by the authorities. This is how protesting students are caught.
We want the law to be respected. Beating people who go out on the street to protest is against the law.
Protests in Belarus have been going on for the last 25 days. Every day people come up with a different form of opposing against Lukashenko. The inhabitants of big cities and small towns want him to leave.
Somewhere they are hanging out flags, somewhere people go out and join the solidarity chain, somewhere there is a solidarity action with the detainees. Something happens every day.
Famous Belarusian athletes founded the Free Athletes Association. They call for a new presidential election. These are photos from the front of the Church of St. Simon and St. Ellen in Minsk. The believers came here to show their support to Archbishop Tadeusz Kondrusiewicz, the head of the Belarusian Catholics. Yesterday he was not allowed in his homeland when he tried to enter Belarus from Poland. The action of collecting signatures under the petition for the return of Archbishop Kondrusiewicz has already started on the internet.
Lukashenko must understand that people can't live in the same Belarus anymore. They want changes. This government will be forced into dialogue if it does not want to see the country falling into economic and political crisis.
It is the economic pressure that can be the most effective tool available to Belarusian protesters. Yesterday, on the first day of the strike, production lines in the Belarusian automobile factory were stopped.
The trial of 14 accomplices involved in the terrorist attack on the offices of Charlie Hebdo in January of 2015 has started in Paris. The series of attacks lasted 3 days, and Islamic terrorists killed a total of 17 people. The 3 main perpetrators were killed by police shortly after the attack, and the trial for the remaining suspects is set to last 10 weeks.
The first target of the terrorists was the French satirical weekly magazine Charlie Hebdo, which published cartoons of Mohammed. According to Islamic fanatics, this was a mockery of the image of the Prophet, and this was supposed to be the direct reason for the assassination of the editorial staff. 8 of its employees were killed. Terrorists also took hostages in a kosher store and killed a police officer. The investigation lasted 3 years and showed that 14 people were involved in organizing the attack. 3 of them fled to Syria and will be tried in absentia. In connection with the trial, a special edition of Charlie Hebdo included replicas of Muhammad's previously published cartoons, and the Paris police increased security measures.
The International Film Festival in Venice is underway. It is the largest film festival with an audience since the pandemic began. 18 films from around the world will compete for the Golden Lion. Among them is Never Gonna Snow Again by Małgorzata Szumowska and Michał Engler. It is the first Polish film in the contest for 5 years.
The festival takes place in strict sanitary conditions. The masks are to be applied everywhere in cinema halls during screenings and other events, as well as when leaving the festival grounds. The temperature will be measured at the entrance gates.
We feel the responsibility to be the first one. We know that the Festival of Venice will be a sort of a test for everybody, a sort of a lab as well. We worked a lot on strict plans of safety measure to assure that everybody attending the festival will be safe until the end.
The jury chairman of the Golden Lion competition will be the actress Cate Blanchett.
I've long been looking forward to this, and I really do applaud all of the organisers of the festival for their inventiveness and their resilience and their sense of collaboration.
The festival will last until September 12th.
There's more to come here on Flash News, but first, Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, celebrated the memory of Princess Diana in Los Angeles. The prince's mother died in a car accident in Paris 23 years ago.
The royal couple has been living in Los Angeles for several months. It is there in front of an educational center run by the charities that Meghan and Harry support, where they planted Princess Diana's favorite flowers, the forget-me-nots. They were helped by the children who had been taken care of by the center. They brought seeds of vegetables, herbs and wild flowers to the new garden so that the forget-me-nots had a varied surrounding. As Prince Harry told many times, his mother is constantly present in his thoughts. When she died, he was less than 13 years old. Artists for artists. The wealthy stars of the world of show business in the difficult times of the pandemic started to help those colleagues who were doing worse. They presented items for auction, and the money collected will serve as a support fund. Next week's auction will include, amongst others, items from Elton John, Barbara Streisand, Cher and Robert Plant. The organizers of this exceptional sale emphasized that the artists were very generous. The Melbourne Zoo in Australia is proud of one of its residents and has a good reason to do so. The employees managed to keep alive the several-month-old koala whose mother was bitten by a dog. The youngling was found in July in a critical condition. However, 6 weeks of the most caring care of people, the small animal fought back. He will stay in the zoo for a few more weeks before starting to live on his own. This year, the only trace of the dairy products fair in the American state of New York is a butter sculpture. It was usually one of many elements of this event. Now it is a symbol. The fair, like most events, has been cancelled in its classical form. Product demonstrations are held on the internet. The unveiling of the butter sculpture was also virtual, although it can be also seen in real life, in the city of Syracuse.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight. Thank you for watching Flash News, and we'll see you next time. Good night.